Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to our webinar on managing your social media and online reputation basics. We were just going to do social media, but we thought since it all kind of ties together, we'll throw in a few social media and online reputation management basics in the presentation today. My name is Melanie McGovern. I'm the Communications Director for Better Business Bureau of Upstate New York. I'm going to let Josh introduce himself.
Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us. My name is Josh Planos. I'm the VP of Communications and PR for the Better Business Bureau serving Nebraska, South Dakota, Kansas Plains, and Southwest Iowa.
And, you know, it's awesome with Better Business Bureau that we have not only in your local area, you have your BBB, you have people you can connect with, but we also have experts across the country that we can collaborate with and share ideas. And Josh and I have been working together now, since you started basically?
Yeah, around a year.
Yeah, and we decided that we wanted to get together and just go over just a few things with everybody, you know, regarding your social media and online presence. And Brett is with us today as well from the BBB of Upstate New York. He will be monitoring the chat box and questions. So I just want to go through a few housekeeping items. You guys are all muted, which is great. You don't need to have your camera on, which is also great. Looks like everybody has their cameras off as well. The questions can go in the chat box. Again, Brett will be monitoring. We encourage questions. This is for you guys. These are the questions we want to hear from you. And the session is being recorded today. And the information we are providing is current as of May 5th, 2022. I'm going to just kind of skim through this disclaimer just so everybody's aware. This presentation document may not be reproduced, copied, or redistributed. All rights, titles, and interests in the name of Better Business Bureau, logos, and associated trademarks are the sole property of Better Business Bureau. And just as a reminder, we do not endorse any product, service, or company, and the information we are providing is believed to be reliable. So if you guys are going to be asking us questions about social media products or web products and things like that, we cannot make any recommendations. All we can tell you is go to bbb.org and look up that company, see what their rating is, see what their complaints and reviews look like. So with that, I say, let's get to it, Josh. You know, social media marketing is, I think, eclipsing traditional marketing and traditional media in so many different ways, especially for small businesses, because in a lot of cases, it's free. It's very user-friendly, but there are definitely 5 things I think that people need to know. Number one, when you build your profile for your business, you really want to make sure that it is 100% complete. There are a lot of companies, especially, and we do our Welcome Wednesday and our Milestone Monday posts on social, and we love to tag our businesses that have been with us a long time. Unfortunately, if your business name is top-notch plumbing, there might be 17 of those across the country. So when Facebook says, which one do you want? It's very hard to find if you don't have your location, your phone number, your hours of service, your website, photos that are, you know, for the area in which you serve. I don't know if you want to jump in with anything, but I think that, you know, in terms of, you know, both of us being social media managers, think about the person who is posting on Facebook, I need a plumber, give me some recommendations. And then their friends proceed to give them 30 different companies, and they're going to look them up. They're not going to go off of Facebook to look them up. They're going to look them up on Facebook. That's why it's really important to keep that profile updated.
Yeah, really, there are so many variables that social media platforms request of business owners that most just kind of simply leave the majority blank after inputting the name of the company, but that's really problematic, like Melanie has attested to, when you're in an oversaturated industry, as so many are. If you create a full profile on these platforms, I promise it will help you separate yourself from your competition. It will cut down on customer confusion. For instance, with us in Nebraska, right, there are north of 70 BBBs around the country, but the one that I work for has a distinguisher, which is that our handle on every platform is @todaywithBBB. It's that way on Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitter, and on TikTok. It creates uniformity, brand recognition for our specific BBB. And if nothing else, it cuts down on the amount of confusion that the customer might face when they're trying to, find us in the pile of thousands of offerings online. So, certainly do the same for your customers, and create that full profile, because I promise, that's what the customers are looking for.
Yeah, it's really important, especially if you are getting recommended by somebody and then they can't find your phone number to call you to make that appointment or to make that consultation. You're losing out on customers if you don't have that full profile information ready to go. The second part of that is, again, like we were saying, Josh and I look at a lot of business profiles all day long. And one of the things that I see that, sometimes I'm like, they haven't posted since 2013. So let's talk about content.
Yeah, so your audience is smart, right? You should treat them that way. They want to learn from your timeline, and they need to have a reason to view it. So posting good content, while simple, is a great way to engage your customers. As we've seen with the rise of TikTok, there is an absolute appetite for content that brings the proverbial walls down, that puts a face to a company or an organization, and that makes you feel like you aren't being talked at, but rather talked to. So an easy way to tap into that opportunity is to go live more. One of the most effective ways to increase social media engagement and interaction is to host a live video. Melanie does a fantastic job of this at her BBB. It allows them to provide their audience with a unique opportunity to interact with them in real time. It removes those real or perceived barriers, keeping you from your audience and from your customers. It also allows you to provide immediate free of charge value, which I think is essential in the modern age. Certainly you can answer their questions, put a face to the brand. You might even avoid a few future phone calls in the process by simply communicating with customers who can submit questions in the chat box or in the comments. So any opportunity you have to establish a dialogue with your customers is a very important one. And just about every platform has integrated some sort of real-time feature like Facebook Live or Instagram Live or LinkedIn Live or Twitter Spaces. So that would be my go-to in terms of creating good quality content that keeps folks coming back for more.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yesterday, not only did we give out a torch award, which was amazing, but we also had a meeting with an accredited business in the afternoon. And both of the owners had just incredible stories to tell. And I mentioned to one of them, boy, this would be an awesome video for social media. People will totally watch that content. And they were surprised. They said, wow, that's a really good idea. And a video, and I remember very specifically at a chamber presentation many months ago, talking about video, talking about how important it is. And somebody raised their hand and said, video is just too hard. I don't have a camera. I said, yes, you do. Use your cell phone. All of the videos that we produce, we shoot on our cell phones. I mean, it's as easy as that. And, like you were saying with TikTok, people are looking for that authentic version of you. They're not looking for a slick pre-produced video of you talking about your products. I keep using a plumber for some reason, because I think because we were at a plumbing company yesterday, but if you have a team and one guy's digging the trench and another guy has a few minutes just to shoot a quick video or put it on Facebook Live, all of the followers are going to get, hey, this company is live right now. And I'm the type of person who'll be like, what are they doing? I'm always curious to see what they're up to. So any kind of video, it doesn't need to be heavily edited or have, graphics on it. It just needs to be a cool story or I remember watching this video like 5 times when we were preparing a list of social media handles for a home show. It was a time-lapsed video of a pool being installed from a giant crane. And it was so interesting. I mean, things like that, that's, even, we talk about one of the biggest things at RBBB is we love our employees and we love our team. And every Friday during the month, we highlight an employee during their anniversary month. And it's always the most engaged piece of content, because people love seeing people. So if you've got workers, and I just saw a friend of mine started doing this for his company on LinkedIn because he saw ours. If you have employees with milestone anniversaries or things like that, again, it's that authentic experience. It's showing you're human, and people really just like to engage with that kind of content.
Yeah, those of us who are heavily involved in the social space talk a lot about creating content that stops folks from scrolling down their timeline, right? It's never been easier to brush past content. We've never had more content at our disposal. And that creates a challenge for companies and organizations to stop the scroll, to get folks to listen to your messaging. Video does that extremely well, right? It naturally draws your eye and your attention to something. Static images we found, and reports online have found, aren't as shareable, nor are they as effective at drawing the eye and the attention of prospective clients. Specifically, like Melanie was touching on with the pool example, a lot of contractors have found immediate success on platforms like TikTok by creating tutorial videos. For whatever reason, those have really kind of taken off on platforms like TikTok, on platforms like Facebook or Instagram. And it's because there's an immediate offering, right? It's not only video, so it's engaging, but it's actually leaving you something to take away from the experience. And so I think video does that extremely well. And at least at our BBB, we're really prioritizing video for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, as we are too. And every time I'm in the office or at an event, I'm looking for that video moment. Like, what can we shoot? What can we use it for? It's really important to make sure you have that kind of content. And if you do have a photo, I love when our businesses post before and afters. I think those are definitely like stop scrolling moments, as we talked about. But again, if you see somebody talking, you're like, what are they saying? I think that's just any business. You can position yourself as a subject matter expert with whatever your business is. I remember there was a woman I was speaking to who consigns children's clothes. I said, you could schedule like every Saturday morning at 10 a.m. You could go live and show like new pieces that you have in and drive people to the store. She's like, what a great idea. And even yesterday we were at a pizza place and I'm like, you could post your weekly specials or just have your chef read them off, and they were showing us their brick oven. I'm like, this is really cool. Like, these are all great content ideas, like things that you just see that you think are interesting. There are other people who think it's interesting as well. So content, there's millions of ideas for content, but I think our biggest takeaway is shoot a video of it and get that posted. The other thing that with us having 97 Better Business Bureaus, we're all kind of watching each other to see what everybody's doing. And that is also something that is like on our list of 5 things, is keep an eye on your competition. See what they're doing. See what kind of content they're posting. Are they getting likes and shares, or is it not working for them? That will help you when you're creating your content to make sure that, okay, they're just posting photos, so let's go ahead and do a video.
Yeah, inspiration cuts both ways. By monitoring your competitors' social feeds, you can learn what is and isn't working, what is and isn't driving engagement. You might take a few ideas, scrap a few ideas, apply them to your timeline or discard them. But you also, can pick up ideas for everything from, content type to tone to optimal post time to cross networking to general strategy. And it'll give you a peer right off the bat to measure your company against. Certainly you're competing with them in the market. So by extension, you're competing with them online. And it's a really good opportunity to, again, get ideas, right? That's what, Melanie is suggesting when she talks about, all of us monitoring each other's social feeds. We're all looking for the next great idea and the next great way to, tap into our audience. It's okay to admit that you go to your competitors' feeds to see what ideas, are proven to be successful and which ones aren't. Because everyone in every industry is doing it.
Yeah, or think about you as a human. What are you interested in? I mean, I know the types of accounts I follow on TikTok are probably not the same that Josh follows. I know my likes outside of work are working out and baseball. So I follow like my gym. I see how they position the content so that we're sharing it as members. And that's when I think about content for Better Business Bureau, and I think about our businesses. Is this something they're going to want to share or engage with? That's why we tag all of our businesses when they first become accredited, when they have that milestone anniversary. We want them to be involved, and that's kind of where I got that idea from. We get these ideas from. I cannot take credit for it. the person who had the position before the person blurry behind me came up with this idea based on those types of factors of, hey, if you're tagged, you're going to share something. If you're engaged, you're going to want to share it. So she came up with that great idea. And I know a lot of BBBs picked that up as well. So, when you're getting people involved, like say you're working with a customer and you ask them, hey, can I tag you in this? Like I think about my hairstylist. She's my salon is BBB accredited. She asks, she's like, can I use you as a before and after? I'm like, yeah, sure, tag me, whatever. And I'm going to share it. So, you definitely want to get people involved in that content and just think about like what you like as a person and how is that content affect you? And then when you're creating content for your business, you want to think about those factors as well. And you know what? It's so funny. Number 5 was use video. We should have moved that to number 1. But the last point is a question. I don't know, Josh, if you get this a lot from businesses, but I'll get like an HVAC guy asking me if he needs a Twitter account. So the last takeaway is know where your audience is. So if you know what demographic you're trying to sell to or, get as a customer, and it's not, on Twitter or LinkedIn. And that's the other thing. There's a lot of our small businesses who don't have LinkedIn presence and they probably really don't need it, but they definitely need to be on Facebook. So you want to know where your audience is. And I tell the businesses a lot, and I'm going to turn it over to you in a second for this one. This is a Melanieism. If you're not going to keep up with all the platforms, pick one and be awesome at it. I don't know if you agree with that or not.
I do. I think a lot of folks create accounts in a hurry without much thought given to who the audience is. It really helps to just kind of define it and create content to address its needs. I know that I'm speaking to a different audience when I'm on Instagram versus when I'm on Twitter. Versus when I'm on LinkedIn. Different accounts on different platforms attract different audiences. So tailor the messaging to ensure you're connecting with that target audience. Your company will resonate differently based on the platform. Cosmetic brands, food, beverage, travel agencies, lifestyle orgs thrive on Instagram. Tech hubs largely on Twitter. Most LinkedIn users are all over the age of 30. All of those data points are important to consider as you massage the messaging of your content to best meet, the audience where it is. I know that that's something that we're constantly thinking about. And this is a little bit more in the weeds, but most platforms will provide insights based on demographic data of followers. And that's a really helpful tool to tap into once you get to that, kind of stage of the social media process, because it'll help you, create content that's going to resonate with that audience. And it's certainly something to consider as you, look to grow and elevate your strategy.
Yeah. And the best part of that, it's free. I know Facebook and Instagram is combined through the Meta Business Suite now. And, the first time I opened it, I was like, what? But once you figure out what you're looking for, it shows you where your viewers are coming from. So, most of our viewers are from the Buffalo, Niagara, New York region. So we know, okay, so if we have a lot of Buffalo centric content, that's why. But they also, in some cases, they'll tell you what time of day your posts do best. And that's all free, but that's really in the weeds. That's stuff that we have to report to our boards of directors, to show that, the social strategies are working, and we don't put any money into it. And we have excellent organic reach because I think, again, the video is something that is so important, and Facebook loves video, Instagram loves video. They're going to deliver that to your viewers. Awesome. Does anybody, before we move on to customer reviews, just want to see if anybody has any questions, comments, stories about what worked for you, anything like that. Brett, do we have anything yet?
We have no questions in the chat box just yet.
Okay. Well, feel free to toss those in there and we will absolutely take questions at the end. But now we're going to move on to, we could call it user-generated content and go crazy with it, but customer reviews are so important. And you don't realize how important they are until you you yourself are looking for something and you're like, wait a minute, I need to see reviews.
Yeah, I mean, there are folks, right, who are going to base where they send their business off of the most reviews. There are folks who are going to base it off who has the highest quality reviews. We're very proud of the reviews that populate on bbb.org. There is a vetting process that goes into them. And it's really important to solicit these reviews, right? Because there are folks out there who might not have heard of your company, but certainly if they hear that, Jamie from down the street had a fantastic experience with your company, they're that much more likely, right, to send their business there. So it's really important to look for those reviews and to get them for your company on everything from bbb.org to your Google listing and everything in between.
The one thing that I notice when I'm talking to business owners or our chamber partners is they're like, how can I get more reviews? And I always say, you have to ask for them. You have to ask people, can you file this review? We have a great app at Our Better Business Bureau that you can text a link to your customer to file that review. It's really easy to go to bbb.org right now. Right at the homepage, it says start a review. That will get you right to there as well. I remember when we first started reviews, it was really kind of difficult to get to there. But not only are people looking at those BBB reviews, they're also looking at other platforms as well. So when you're asking for reviews, sometimes it's easier to say, pick your favorite platform and write a review. I had a tree guy at my house and he's like, I need some Google reviews. I said, well, what about your Better Business Bureau reviews? He's like, yeah, those two. So, he just seemed like he was very hesitant to ask me. And, I had a conversation with him after the fact and told him who I was. And he's like, so I just have to ask. I said, yeah, people are more than happy to write a review if you politely ask them and make it easy for them. I said, so if you have a little business card, you can hand them to remind them. I had a painter who gave me a piece of paper and a pen. I'm like, no. Like, I will go online and file your review. Yes, Lisa, we'll get to that in a second about the app. But it's so important to ask and like engage with that customer that way, because then, when they're writing that review, they'll say, Josh was so nice and he was so open with me, or they did such a great job, blah, 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 blah. There's a million different things that they can write in that review. And then when you're asking and they're happy, you'll get a positive review. Because, it's interesting. We have three stages of reviews here at Better Business Bureau. We have positive, negative, and neutral. And I never understood what a neutral review was until I had it happen to me. And I'm not going to really get into the story, but it was one of those things, they showed up on time. Their work wasn't great, but it wasn't terrible. So it was neutral. But in addition to asking, and Josh, it's interesting, we probably see these all the time. Responding to reviews are really important. Not only the negative reviews, but the positive ones as well.
Yeah, I mean, that really separates the BBB from, its competition in the review space, right? There is a dialogue that happens, right? There are folks who come to our site because they want to get to the bottom of why the experience was positive, why the experience was negative, or why the experience was neutral. And it's a really good opportunity to have a thoughtful, considerate conversation with folks, right? Because all too often these reviews are really meant to, they might be made, in a rush, or they might be made, at a time when frankly, it's probably not best to leave a review, but it's typically the motivating factor, right? Is they want the company to do better, or they want the company to be celebrated for the work that they have done. So it's really important to engage, right? Don't put up your walls because, the review wasn't what you wanted it to be. Bring them down because you can bring this customer into the fold, right? You can break bread, so to speak, online. And I think it's never been more important than it is today, right? To actually engage with reviews and engage with your customers in the digital space.
Yeah, but number 3, don't get into a battle. Even, what I always tell people, especially when they call, like they'll call me and they're like, Melanie, I got this negative review and this guy was a jerk. And how do I do this? I said, turn off your computer, go get a piece of paper and a pen, write everything down, rip it up and throw it away, and then politely say, I'm so sorry you had that poor experience. Please give us a call at the office so we can make it right. That shows you're open to responding, but you're not going to fight your battle in public. Because, that can really hurt a business. And in some cases, it's a violation of BBB standards. So you really don't want to fight those battles in public. You want to take it offline. It's just really, really important to make sure that that's your company. And, we talk about our online reputation a lot. Like for me as spokesperson, I have to be careful what I put on my personal social media. Because, as much as, there is no separation of church and state when it comes to the person whose face is on the television talking about the Better Business Bureau. So I'm very careful about what I post, when I post, what it says. I want to maintain that positive reputation. And I always joke when I'm teaching college students, hey, the stuff you post on social media, would you call your grandmother and tell her that? Would you show your parents that photo? Think about things like that, and think about the long-term ramifications, and think about, massive, huge brands that got in trouble because the owner, for lack of a better term, was a jerk on social media. So you don't want to respond that way. I saw a question briefly pop up about number of reviews. I personally think the more reviews, the better. If I see a company with a bunch of only 5-star reviews, that makes me nervous. I don't know, Josh, if you want to jump in too, because it feels like either they're a fake website, especially when it comes to clothes. When I see like a dress on like TikTok and I go to the website to look it up and it's all 5-star reviews, I'm like, I don't know if this is legitimate. But I don't know if you want to jump in.
Yeah, it might depend on industry, right? Like if you're buying
Yeah.
a t-shirt online, right? I'm probably going to look for the quantity over the quality. But in terms of like, if I'm hiring a contractor to do work around the house, would it be nice to have, 1,000 5-star reviews? Sure. But I'm really going to dig into the weeds more, I think, in terms of like the quality of the review, more than I would for something that's kind of more of like a miscellaneous item, because I've got considerably more invested in what that experience is going to look like. Certainly, it'd be great to have both, but yeah, I think also maybe I'm a little jaded because I've heard of folks, being able to kind of purchase large sums of reviews, right, for their company, that now I'm clearly like considering each review more and more than I probably ever have. So I guess that's just a long way of saying it depends on the circumstance.
Yeah, it definitely does. And this is where responding in the best way possible comes into play as well. So let's say you do get a 3.5-star review. The way you respond, and it's interesting, some of the data in the last Bright Local survey that we got on customer reviews was that they're reading the response more than they're reading the negative review. Because let's be honest, there's a lot of Karens out there who will just, write a terrible review because you gave them the side eye or you looked at them weird. I mean, you could have been, you could have had niche. Reminds me of that Seinfeld when George kept winking. But anyway, people are looking to see how you respond. And I always tell people, if you get a complaint or if you get a negative review, this is a chance to show how incredibly awesome your customer service skills are. So if there is a review that is 3.5 stars, always say, let's see if we can, work this out and make it better. And that's what people are looking for, that experience. It goes back to the authenticity again. They want to say, what, not everybody's perfect, but they're willing to work on it. They're willing to make it right. I think people get more concerned when they see 27 1-star reviews of this guy took money and never showed up at my house. But if it's like a 3.5-star review and you're working very hard publicly to make it right, people will give you the benefit of the doubt and still use your company. I don't know if you have anything to add to that.
No, I think that about covers it. It really is just, it's important to engage with the reviews you get. It's important to solicit the reviews that you want to get. And because folks are looking at your profile, right? Folks are looking for that tacit cosign of their neighbor, or their community member, or somebody out there who had a positive experience before they send business your way.
Yeah, people trust strangers on the internet more than they trust their friends and family for reviews. So, Brett, I think we have some other questions if you want to hop on and read those to us.
Sure. Just one other question by Carol Ann. Can you speak of what kind of permissions are required for posting photos of work done in someone's home? For example, if we were to post a close-up of equipment and the home is not identifiable, do we need permission from the homeowner?
just get like verbal permission or say, hey, you know what, our guys are going to be taking a couple of photos. Is that okay? I know when I had my house cited, it was in the contract that they had the right to take photos and use them on social media. And I had no problem with that. I mean, they did a great job, but some people will build it into the contract. And you know, if you feel more comfortable with a photo release form like we do, though we do have those here. We used to have them here. We don't really take a lot of pictures of people anymore. But usually a verbal okay is okay. I don't know, Josh, if you have anything more on that.
Yeah, that about covers it, right? I mean, a lot of the contractual language has it kind of factored in terms of, you know, what you're signing up for, but verbal is always going to, you know, largely be sufficient, so long as, like Carol Ann said in the question, it's non-identifiable, right? You're not taking a photo of somebody's home address or their home phone number, right?
They're safe.
Yeah, they're safe.
Yeah, and a lot of times if somebody, if a service provider says, I want to take a photo of, you know, like I did your landscaping, I'd love to take a photo, that person's probably going to share it, and that's free marketing for you. So it's always good to ask, you know, ask and say, hey, we're going to share this on Facebook later. Don't forget to like our page and we'll tag you if you want us to, or not, you can just share it. And then the person gets really engaged and gets really excited waiting for that picture to post. So yeah, I think that's, I think verbal is okay. And then I think we had a question about the review apps. So if you're in upstate New York, you are a BBB accredited business, it is, I'll put it in the chat, it's yourreviews.com. yourcustomerreviews.com will take you over there and it will walk you through how to download the app and use it. All right, we're moving on to online presence, which is interesting because this week's Better Business Tips for Upstate New York are 5 things you can do to make your website better. And one of the funny things, when I first started teaching online reputation management back in like 2015, my first presentation, I asked the room, when was the last time your website was updated? And this guy raises his hand. He's like, 2009. I'm like, okay. Think about that now. If that website hasn't been updated, it's been 13 years. So yeah, you definitely want to keep your website up to date. And the best part is if you start adding photos and like putting like tags on photos and changing your content, your website's going to get re-indexed by Google. So that's always good to keep that content fresh because it will help people find you down the road. But number one, when it comes to your online presence, I don't know if this is my number one, Josh, I don't know if this is yours, but you have to make sure, and this takes a little bit of time and it can be time consuming because I had to do this when I first started working here 8 years ago. Every single directory listing, every single chamber, everything you belong to, you want to make sure that your name is accurate, your address is accurate, your phone number is accurate, your website is accurate, your contact people. We were listed on some of these yellow page websites as the Better Business Bureau of Buffalo, Better Business Bureau of Western New York. So we had to go in and correct all of that. And then we had to make sure that every single phone number was our 800 number because that will lead you right to the main switchboard. I had a job from one of our chamber partners asked if we would help with their directory. Because they go through manually once a year and edit their directory, and a bunch of the businesses were BBB members and none of the phone numbers matched like the chamber directory and the BBB and the Facebook. So I called them and said, hey, you know, you want to jump in and fix that? And they're like, why? I'm like, you could be missing out on sales.
Yeah, absolutely. There are so many businesses, right, that complete the BBB accreditation application, start their profile, and then walk away from it. They add social media accounts, never update their listing. They change their address, don't update it, bbb.org or, you know, on their Google profile. This impedes your audience, right? Your customers' ability to find you. Certainly, you would, you know, hate to think that, you know, by not kind of double checking your information or updating your information, that you were, kind of walking away from potential business. But it's something that, the digital space is expanding, and it's something to always be cognizant of. When I started, here at the BBB, I needed to gain control of our Google business profile landing pages. I did so. Our folks could stay up to date when our LinkedIn HQ moved in the past few months. That information needs to get sent out to our customers because otherwise, how are they going to find us? All too often, folks aren't looking for a secondary source or double checking information. So you need to make sure that information is credible and legitimate everywhere it's available online. So certainly,
Yeah.
it can feel like playing whack-a-mole, but it's really important that you do play whack-a-mole.
Yeah, the Google profile is absolutely huge. I would say it's right up there with your BBB profile to make sure that information is accurate. This is funny. I was looking for a new pair of sneakers, and a friend of mine was like, go up to the Reebok store in Niagara Falls. I'm like, oh, okay. So I pulled up my phone because I wanted to see how long it was going to take me to get there, and it said permanently closed. So I called the number and it was disconnected. So the store was closed, but they had the foresight to put it on their Google business page. I manage ours for upstate New York. So I'll get emails saying, are you open on Memorial Day? No, I'm not. So I'll go in and edit that. So Google kind of makes it easy for you to manage that page. And, I encourage everybody to make sure that you actually own your Google page, because sometimes you don't, and you have to claim it. And I'm not even kidding. Like back in the day, 8 years ago, they mailed you a postcard with a code on it. Like everything was like analog to claim this page, because it was an ID theft prevention tool. So it's really important to claim that Google page and make sure all that information is updated, because a lot of times some of the directories are pulling off of there, or they're pulling off of BBB. I know when we do our online trust monitors for our accredited businesses, the information they're pulling to check against other directories is from bbb.org. So it's really important. And if you're not a BBB accredited business, I encourage you to go over to bbb.org and check to see if you have a profile, because you absolutely can update that for free as well. We talked about the website. I just wanted to touch really quickly on email marketing. I know we do a lot of email marketing to our businesses to let them know about events like this, what else is going on. We had a really great webinar last month with our partners in government and FBI, and then I sent out a list of resources. So when you're email marketing, you really want to make sure that you are sending the right message to the right audience at the right time. Those are my 3 takeaways. I don't know if you have any thoughts on email marketing.
Yeah, just including like attention grabbing pre-header text, give folks a reason to open the email, right? It's so easy for every email to kind of look the exact same and to register the exact same as someone who's logging into their inbox. But it's really important to figure out what differentiates you and what can grab a hold of folks' attention, because that's really the aim, right? Is to get them to click into the email and access the offerings.
Yeah, and think about when you are in your own inbox and the types of things that you're looking for. And when you go through and you're looking at your email program, whatever you happen to use, and you see the unsubscribes versus the opens, I would be more worried about unsubscribes, because not every piece of content gets opened. Let's be honest. I wake up in the morning and I'm delete. Oh wait, I might need that later. Delete. People don't want to unsubscribe from you. They just don't want your message right now. Does that make sense? So I wouldn't worry about unsubscribe. I wouldn't worry about opens. I would worry about unsubscribes. But yeah, you definitely want to make sure that you know what's going on in the world, especially during the pandemic. There were a lot of brands that got dinged on social media for being tone deaf during the pandemic, and they were still sending out, their email calendar wasn't, when we closed our office here in upstate New York, we blew out our social calendar and our email calendar, and then just tailored the content to what was going on in the world. So you want to make sure that if you do have automated emails and things like that, that you are paying attention to what's going on in the world, and you don't want to appear to be tone deaf to somebody's inbox and make them angry and maybe make them write an angry social media post. Be surprised what triggers people nowadays. We talked about the Google business profile. I wanted to add one thing. I think we just hit 400,000 views of the photo that is on our Google profile. It's of the front of our building. It's really important if you have a brick and mortar location that your Google profile has a picture of the front of your building. When I used to travel a lot in upstate New York, I was in very adorable small towns looking for chamber headquarters, and you've got the row of buildings and it's just a line down the sidewalk as a Google picture. And I'm like, okay, which one is it now? It's easier for people to find you if you have a picture of your building that is discernible and has markings on it, especially if you have a sign. I don't know if you have any other thoughts on Google.
No, it's just fitting that you brought that up. I had a conversation about this very topic this morning. And yeah, it's absolutely something that folks are considering when they're looking up the business. They're not just going to stumble into you, right? They're trying to find exactly what the building's going to look like. So, make it easy on your customers.
And also users can add photos of your business as well. And I have a friend who has 100,000 views of a photo of an Aldi meat case. So there's definitely ways for users to add photos as well. But sometimes if I look at a Google profile and it's not complete, it's like, are they still in business? Like, you don't want to leave people with those types of questions. You want to make sure that, and it's interesting, there's a section on the Google profile where you can put updates very similar to like a Facebook or an Instagram. So if you have an event coming up or a sale coming up, you can actually put it on your Google business profile. We've used it in the past and it's been great to get the message out. The last thing I have on online presence is make sure you're monitoring what's being said about you. And there's a lot of free ways to do that. Especially through social media, you'll get alerts, obviously, if somebody tags your business or if somebody posts on your profile, but you can also use free Google alerts to see, if there's anything, out there about your business. And I know there's some free review monitoring sites as well. I can't think of any of them off the top of my head and I can't recommend a product, but just search for them and you can type in your business name. And if there's any reviews out there that you're not familiar, like maybe there's a website you're not familiar with that takes reviews and there's a review about your company, you'll get an email saying a review was left about your company at XYZ website. I feel like I'm talking too much. A little out of breath. But yeah, I actually do an hour just on online presence normally. So that's why I was like, we gotta boil it down to 5 things. Oh no. But any questions on that?
Nothing new in the chat box just yet. Oh, we just had one come in from Lisa. Is your customerreviews.com for free?
If you are a BBB accredited business in upstate New York, it is. Awesome.
Perfect.
All right. I'm gonna let you handle this one.
Okay, let's talk cybersecurity. I've got just a couple of quick tips. I promise that they will be helpful. Cybersecurity has never been more important than it is today, and the same will be true tomorrow. The first tip is to manage your privacy settings. Every network offers its own suite of options that help control who sees what, who is able to react with what, how to block folks, scammers, bots, etc. The photos and content uploaded to the social media platforms are not always secure, right? They can be downloaded for identity theft, improper circulation, or unethical activities. So it's vital to learn and understand how to use the privacy features that social media sites offer. Certainly you want this to be a positive experience for both you and your organization. So get up to speed on those privacy settings because each platform differs and the offerings seemingly update by the day, right? We're to follow the whack-a-mole analogy, right? There's any number of updates that come through Facebook, certainly, in a given week. So it's really important to stay up to speed on them because you don't want your business to suffer because, you weren't able to access the privacy settings that the platform provides. The second tip I have is to protect your passwords by creating unique ones for each channel and then enable multi-factor authentication. Please do not include your birthday and hometown as the password for your social media accounts. I promise you will be better off having more complicated passwords, even if it slows down the login process for you. If it isn't easy to log into your account, that's a good thing, right? That means it's probably more difficult to have it hacked. And as anyone who has ever had an account get hacked will tell you, it is far better to have a little bit more legwork on the front end than it is to have to play cleanup duty on the back end. And then, make sure your password, right, is at least 8 characters long and consists of some combination of letters, numbers, and special characters. Most of these platforms require that nowadays, but certainly, if they don't, take that extra step to make your password as secure as it possibly can be. Multi-factor authentication, that's the standard nowadays, right? I'm guessing many of you are probably aware of this with your work email account, where you have to input a code delivered via text message onto your laptop so you can log in. You can enable this feature on social media by going to the settings tab of each platform, setting up the secondary authentication method of your choosing, and then completing the subsequent prompt. These days, it's not a matter of if your password will be breached, but when, right? Billions of accounts every single year are compromised through little fault of the user. So it's really critical that we all take necessary preventative steps to ensure and mitigate the potential of us being added to that statistic. Multi-factor authentication ensures that no one can access your accounts, even if they have your password. And that's an incredible opportunity, right, that we should all take advantage of. Protect your personal information. Be careful how much personal information you divulge on social networking sites. The more information you post, the easier it may be for someone to use that information to steal your identity, access your data, or commit other crimes. Since it's a company account, you're probably not peeling back the curtain too much, but as we mentioned earlier, with live video opportunities, just be cognizant of what is and what isn't being shared, and whether you feel like what is being shared is necessary or safe for your customers or complete strangers to know. And then just kind of broadly, protecting your computer, right? You can install antivirus software, keep the operating system, web browser, other software current. And that's just a really good way to kind of stay ahead of the scam or stay ahead of the identity theft, which is top of mind for so many users and companies out there today.
It's interesting. I just thought of it as you were talking about passwords and photos. Several years ago, we had a restaurant in the Albany, New York area have their Facebook page spoofed, and people closed it. Don't know why they would want to do that. But if you have social accounts that are dormant, I keep air quoting, I'm sorry. If they're dormant, if you're not using them, or, if you set it up and then forgot about it, make sure you're checking. And just even if you go into Facebook and type the name of your business in, if 2 pop up, that means somebody spoofed your account. So you really want to be careful. Once a month, I will type in my name into Facebook to make sure that I am the only Melanie Gregg McGovern on Facebook, just to make sure nobody's spoofing my account. I got a friend request today from a former boss of mine who passed away 2 years ago, but his Facebook account is still there. So that's what they're looking for. They're looking for dormant business accounts or dormant personal accounts that aren't being used. So it's really important. And Brett just told me that today is National Change Your Password Day. So there you go. And biometrics are really important too. If you have Face ID for your phone or Thumb ID, those are really helpful as well to secure your device. I just didn't enjoy it when I had to wear a mask and I couldn't open my phone when I had my mask on. But there's definitely some really great free resources through the FBI and the Cyber Intelligence Security Agency, CISA, which is part of Homeland Security. And I can send those resources out to everybody when we send the recording in the next day and a half to help with just basic cybersecurity. I mean, it's at the point right now, and we talked about this last month for anybody who was with us last month. If you have a computer at your business, you're vulnerable. Doesn't matter, you could be the biggest bank in the world or a corner pizza place. They're just trying to figure out who they can get to. On that fun note, how do you manage it all? I mean, I think that, as social media managers, It's great when it's somebody has that job together, but if you're a small business person, I can't encourage people enough to take at least a half hour a day of your day to manage social media. And, you know, the other thing I wanted to mention, I just remembered it. If you are giving employees permission to be administrators on social media pages, make sure you're keeping up with that and make sure there's more than one person. I have a friend who worked at an organization and they had to let their marketing person go, and that person was the only person who had access to their social accounts. And they were like, what do we do? Really important to make sure that you know who has access and that multiple people have access in case something like that happens. But it's just really important to make sure you're keeping up with it. I say a half hour a day. How much time do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I probably use at least 30 minutes to an hour. You know, certainly calendars help me stay organized, so I would encourage those. There are so many free social media calendars opportunities out there that folks can tap into to keep yourself organized and you know, not necessarily need to come with or ideate new content each and every day. But that's certainly something to consider. Keep yourself organized and stay on top of those permissions, like Melanie said.
Yeah, and it's, you know, once you get it to a system, like say you get up in the morning, you pull up your business Facebook account, make sure there's no comments or anything like that that you may have missed or didn't respond to. You know, make sure if you have content to post that you have it posted or ready to go or scheduled. Like Facebook is a free scheduler. You know, do it while you're drinking your coffee. It's that easy. In so many ways to be able to stay on top of things. And you know, Google alerts are great as well. You know, if there's anything, any topics that are relevant to your business that you want to stay on top of, they deliver. I have Google alerts set up for here and they come at 11:30 every morning. So then I can see, you know, what are the trending scams, what are our media mentions, or like I'll get something if you guys have a story that made it into the media, I'll see it and I'll be like, oh, that would be good for upstate New York. So there's always really great ways to generate ideas for content. So yeah, that's I think that's a wrap. If anybody has any more questions. Let's see what we got here. Okay. So here's our contact information. If anybody thinks of anything down the line, if you are in upstate New York, you can reach out to me. That is my direct email and that is my direct line to my desk. And below, if you are in the Omaha service area, there's Josh's contact info. I'm always love helping our businesses succeed on social media because let's face it, it's where everybody is. There was a stat a few years ago. I think people open Facebook 20 times a day. Does that sound right, Josh?
Yeah, I mean, I that's unsurprising, right? I mean, I open it at least that many times. Of course, I'm probably skewing the data because I work in the industry, but
people
yeah.
also spend 90 minutes a day 2 hours a day between social media and messaging apps. So think about your 24-hour day. 2 hours of your 24 hours are spent on social. And like for me, you know, I'm like, oh, but I'm not on Facebook, but I'm on Instagram. I'm on Snapchat. I'm on TikTok. I'm on LinkedIn. You know, so there's always opportunities to reach potential and current customers through social media those ways. Have you ever used Yext? Yahoo seems to bar business information behind that program. I'm not sure if I understand the Yahoo part, but Yext is free. And yeah, I've used it in the past. I don't think we still have a Yext account though.
We do not either.
I'm not sure what you mean by Yahoo, if you could explain that, but if you want to turn your mic on, Rebecca, and I'm not sure what that means about borrowing business information. Well, while we're waiting for that, does anybody else have any other questions? Let's see.
Melanie, Lisa just had a quick question on any thoughts on working in fun or lighthearted content?
Always. I think that it's important to have a little bit of lighthearted content, a little bit of sense of humor. The only thing I would warn people of is don't like hashtag hijack, or, you know, there was a meme floating around after the Oscars that, you know, wasn't the best way to represent a business. So, you know, you want to make sure that, yeah, you're having a little bit of fun, but at the same time, you want to make sure that it's tasteful fun. I don't know if Josh, if you have any questions.
Yeah,
or thoughts on that.
Lisa, that's top of mind for us too, right? There are some folks who consider BBB to be synonymous with scam prevention, fraud prevention, and awareness, and that's, you know, that's a responsibility. But certainly, you know, our timeline offers a lot more, right? So, you know, diversity, I think, is essential regardless of industry. But certainly, I want our timeline to be first and foremost to be useful in some way for our audience. And so that's kind of like my priority. But I will say that there is a part of me that is thinking, you know, let's bring something that's a little bit more chipper, maybe like a little less scammy to the table for our audience today. And that just is, you know, is kind of like a touch and feel kind of approach. I wouldn't say that there's an exact science to it.
Yeah, I mean, like a lot of BBBs, today's Cinco de Mayo, so a lot of BBBs wrote Happy Cinco de Mayo posts. Our BBB doesn't really do that anymore, but, you know, there are, you know, like yesterday was May the 4th be with you, and I saw a lot of social media posts around that. Those are great. Those are fun. Those, unless, you know, there's something wrong with Star Wars nowadays, I don't know, but you know, those types of posts are cool, and I think people like them, and it shows you're human, and you know how to have a little fun, but always like the pushing the envelope. We don't do that here at all.
Mm-hmm.
Rebecca, I'm going to ask you to contact me at some point, because I'm very interested in this as well, because people should be able to fix their directory listings on Yahoo and Yelp for free. That's really interesting that they're asking for a payment through Yext. I mean, you can't just, yeah, that's interesting. I would ask you to either call or email me, and we could set up a time to talk. Because I'll troubleshoot that and see what we can do to help. Oh, good. Thank you. So if anybody has any other, wow, we are at 2:29 or 1:29 in your time zone. So we're going to wrap up. I'll have this recording to you guys by the end of the day tomorrow, but it might be sooner. And then again, if anybody has any questions, we would absolutely love to hear from you offline, and we can talk a little bit more, especially if you're a BBB accredited business. We can give you ideas of how to, you know, market your accreditation online and things like that. That should be our next webinar. There it is. Awesome. All right, Josh, thank you so much for
hosting
the collab here. It's been great. Brett, thank you for holding down the fort.
Oh, you're quite welcome.
And thank you to everybody for attending, and we'll see you guys next time.